Hi everyone, how are you? I'm back. My name is Marla, and I wanted to continue sharing the Constitution and our government, a handbook that my grandfather was given to me. That my grandfather was given when he first moved to this country. And we were on chapter 10 of the book, Objectives of our Federal Government. And there's a good quote from Daniel Webster. I love the Webster Dictionary. God grants liberty only to those who love it, and always ready to guard and defend it. That quote from Daniel Webster impresses me because our founding fathers started this country under one God. They put God. What holds this country together is God. That was our common bond when we first started this country. God was at the center of the colonies. And everyone in the colonies identified with God. God grants freedom. And if you love freedom, you will put God first. In this country, we obey God. We don't obey government. Government is not God. And government does not give us freedom. On the contrary, if we let government invert itself, it will take away our freedom and our rights and give us only those rights they believe we deserve. That is why we need to put God back in America and let Him give us our rights. Because God is just, government is not. And when the end of government is justice, the end is close. So with that, let me start with the first chapter, paragraph. The federal government holds the union together. Supposedly, anyways. The United States is neither a federal nor a national government. It is a mixed, and it is limited. But the word federal, according to this manual handbook, means it's a system of government. Now let me reiterate, because in the last 60 years, in the last 100 years, let me just say, not 60, the government has been changing the system that our founding fathers put in place. And so in the last 60 years, when this manual was written, they started to redefine who has the authority to govern Americans. So let me reiterate here first. The authority to govern lies with the people. And we, the people, govern ourselves. We were given a self-governing system that if we put God as our governor over our behavior, we can govern ourselves in this system. But what happened in World War II, in the turn of the 20th century, is that after the war, we became a semi-self-governing system and a semi-socialist system. That means that the government granted itself the authority to govern, and it divided the governing between the Constitution between the federal and the states. Now, our founding fathers gave the states co-equal powers to govern. That means that the states are just as sovereign as the U.S. government. And the state has its own jurisdiction and its own freedoms to decide the laws of its state. And so only those laws that the U.S. government does that is pursuant to the Constitution is valid. If there is a law that is not pursuant to the Constitution, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, then it's invalid. It's null and void. And the states do not have to follow it, because the states have co-equal powers. And so only those laws that are pursuant to the Constitution, the states must follow. And the states need to also follow the Constitution and cannot usurp it. So there is every state has its own constitution, but the supreme constitution is the U.S. Constitution, and it must adhere to the Constitution. Do you know what I'm saying? So the 13 colonies went to war with England. They fought 2 wars. Some say that the War of 1812 really was lost and England won. But I rather say that no, they didn't win. I hope not anyways. I hope that's not true. But anyways, the 13 colonies, they had an objective. And their objective was to win the right to govern themselves. The Constitution is the plan of the U.S. And in order to stay together and united, we need to follow the plan. It's a good plan. So let's dive in. Now here is where I need to read, because when they were designing the plan, they designed a preamble to the Constitution. And the makers of the Constitution spoke for the whole American people. It does not say we the states, nor does it read we the people of the states. It says we the people of the United States. The Constitution was written and accepted for the people. So it reads, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to obtain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. My son had to memorize this during the first 8 years of his education. And I think it's a very beautiful preamble. So I would highly recommend that you make your children read it and learn it as well. The Constitution was written with an objective, and that objective is just as important today as it was in 1787. The purpose of the preamble was to form a more perfect union. The Founding Fathers chose the right objective. Neither the federal nor the states has complete authority. So this union was perfect. And because it was strange in many ways, because we have a union of the people and we have a union of the 50 states. And each state has its own authority. Each state has its own authority to act on its own without the federal government. Each state has different laws for the same subject. Each state has its own tax structure. Many years ago, Abraham Lincoln took us to another war, a civil war. And this civil war was so that the states cannot be broken up. And not only was it to save the states, the Union, but it was also to end slavery. So it had two reasons. But that war proved that you cannot destroy the Union. The Union is more perfect. So today I'm going to ask you a question. And please think about it. Because today we are faced with the same problems that our early founders were faced with. The question of how do we form a more perfect union? This is always the question before the people. We, the people, to establish justice. The second purpose of the Constitution is to establish justice. Today we have people trying to change the system to establish justice. But our Constitution establishes justice. And we, the people, need to make sure that we put it back and get our politicians to stop ignoring it. What does justice mean? It means to make fair in making and in carrying out the laws. The reason we declared independence from King George III is because he was not making fair and just laws. The Declaration of Independence told why our founding fathers wanted to organize a new government. Our founding fathers wanted fair laws. They wanted honest officers to enforce laws. And today, we are faced with the same problems our founding fathers had. We don't have honest officers making fair laws. Under the Constitution, all persons must obey the law. Under the Constitution, one person can be rich and another poor, but all persons are equal before the law. Both must obey the law. Both can demand that the law protect them in the use of all their rights. The government may punish one who does not obey the law, whether he is rich or poor. In different countries, there might be different laws for different people, but it's not like that in America. Any person who breaks the law in America can be punished, but you cannot be punished if there is no crime. Even judges can be sent to jail if they disobey the law. What does it mean for we the people to ensure domestic tranquility? It means to make sure peace at home. Our founding fathers wanted to put aside quarrels among the states. So one of the things one of the conditions that the Constitution corrects is that the federal government can put aside these quarrels. The federal government can help the states keep the peace among their people. The federal government must protect the states against attacks by foreign nations. That means that they need to protect us when the border is unsecure. If the states ask the federal government will protect the states against armed attacks at home. Each state, in general, has the ability to put down attacks within its borders. But as a nation, it always stands ready to ensure domestic tranquility. What does the next point mean? We, the people, to provide for the common defense. That is the fourth purpose. The Constitution took the authority to declare war away from the states. This power was delegated to the federal government. So briefly, in 1789, foreign nations owned lands on three sides of the United States. The British were on the north, in Canada. The French owned the Louisiana Territory on the west. The Spanish were in Florida, to the south. The fathers of the Constitution knew that if these nations should attack one of the states, the federal government would have to help. The federal government should have the power to defend all the states. The Congress is given the authority to declare war. The Congress has the authority to say how large armed forces of the nation shall be and how the members shall be selected. But the Constitution places the president at the head of the armed forces. So what does it mean by we the people to promote the general welfare? To promote means to work for. General means the whole. Welfare means good or success. The government should work for the good of all people, for the success of all people. The people had many troubles when the war with England was won. However, people question whether England won the Second War. The next phrase, we the people, to secure the blessings of liberty to our posterity. What does that mean? It means that the people shall always be free to govern and to enjoy their liberty. This thought was taken from the Declaration of Independence. The fathers of the Constitution believed that all men, that includes women, have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. King George III had refused to respect these rights. King George had tried to destroy the liberty of the people. After thought on that is Biden and the Democrats, it seems, and some Republicans, it seems that our government today is trying to destroy the liberty of the people in America. Our founding fathers of the Constitution wanted to make sure that the people can always control the government. They said that the government should never become strong enough to take away the rights of the people. They tried to guard our rights without limiting the authority of the government. Therefore, the Constitution listed special things that our government cannot do. They tried to make it impossible for the government not to get too strong. The Constitution declares that our children and their children shall be free to enjoy their rights in the same way. In conclusion, for every right that we enjoy, there is a duty that we owe to ourselves and others. If we want to keep our rights, then we must carry out our duties. What are our duties? Keep following my videos and I'll let you know. Only in this way, can we ensure the blessings of liberty to our children and their children in the future. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and donate if you can. Thanks.